Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name's Gavin, and today we're going to be diving into another Underdog Best Ball draft here for the 2022 season. 12 teams, half PPR. You know the game if you've been around here for a while, but if you haven't, feel free to drop down, click that subscribe button, and turn the bell on. Like today's video so you're never late for a video. We'll be doing drafts like this all summer long. I'm hoping to ramp up and continue doing these at a more frequent pace because I absolutely love Underdog. I love doing drafts here, and I think it's the best draft tool out there to prepare us for our leagues this season. If you want to play with me on Underdog Fantasy, you can go check them out. The link is in the description of today's video. I'm actually hosting a 12-team league right now. The link is again in the description of today's video. So if you want to join me playing a fantasy league with me this season, it's very low stakes, just $3 to get in. When you use promo code SFS and sign up, deposit on an Underdog at least $10 on there, you're going to get my 2022 redraft and dynasty draft guides completely free, as well as my in-season lineup advice for the 2022 year if you sign up for Underdog before the end of the month of June. So again, that's promo code SFS. Sign up for Underdog. They'll match you up to $100. They've got awesome pick'em games. I've been playing all NBA finals long here. I'll be doing a lot of props, helping you guys win some cash during this NFL season. And again, join fantasy leagues with me this year. Join Underdog Fantasy, promo code SFS, link in the description. Here we go. We're on the draft board now in Underdog Fantasy. If you guys are new around here, the channel, or even for those of you who are not new around here and were unaware of this, I do have a playlist on the channel of all of my drafts I've done so far this season. So go check those out. Of course, ADP will evolve over time. Players are going to begin to progress through positions on the draft board, and not everyone is going to be coming off the board at the same spot in May as they're going to be going off the board in August here. So go check those videos out, though. They're super fun. I've really liked most of the teams I've put together here this season, and one of the things I love about Underdog is I get a different draft position almost every time I play in these leagues. We're pick 11 today. Literally every time I've done a video, so we obviously haven't done 12 of them yet, but I've had a different draft spot every single time I've done a draft on Underdog, which A, for me as a content creator is great just because it gives you guys something fresh every time, and B, it keeps the board spiced up a little bit here and basically prepares me for all different situations as opposed to drafting from the same spot every time. So, wow, CMC with with some authority there. Goes to the 1-1. Busty Tutties, which is a little play on words there, I'm guessing, and also very creative because it applies to the NFL and football space there. Wasted no time. 1.1 CMC goes off the board. In best ball, I think that if he's healthy, he does probably present a higher ceiling as a pass catcher than Jonathan Taylor is, who is definitely the safer pick. When you talk about CMC, he's only played 10 games the last 2 years. That is combined, not 10 games a season. That is 3 in 2020, 7 in 2021. There is some risk there, but CMC's 2019 RB1 season was a heck of a lot stronger than the RB1 season for JT, which was just over 21 points per game last year, and CMC was at 29 points per game, 29.3 in his RB1 year. So we are 3 picks away. Looking at the board here, just kind of trying to assess what exactly I'm looking for at this position. I am going to possibly reach for a running back here. Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook might not be available. Stephon Diggs is someone I really like here, but I'm not going to really dive into that situation too much. The direction I'm thinking of going here is Joe Mixon. I think I can easily turn around and get myself either a CeeDee Lamb or DeAndre Swift in the second round, which for me would be a nice start to today's video. Now, what happened here? Okay, CD's still there. He just moved up my board. I thought I lost him there for a second. I will turn the draft board on for you guys in just a sec here. So again, I think I'm going to go Joe Mixon. I'm tempted to go Travis Kelce. Devontae Adams is someone who I like a lot. Obviously, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, so despite the fact that he moved, I'm still very interested in him. I am going to wait, though. I think I can play this. We'll see how the rest of the board plays out for me here, but I absolutely love being attached to the Cincinnati Bengals offense. I think that good things come from that situation. Joe Burrow, that ability to pass the ball downfield and keep the chains moving, have the opportunity for explosive plays. When you're talking about a team that went to the Super Bowl last year and was 16th in passing plays per game, that shows you an incredible balance and commitment to running the football. And that factor alone, I think, gives you a lot of reason, explanation, and optimism for why Joe Mixon can continue to do that in years in the future. So we do have differing bye weeks here between Mixon and Swift. Man, I'm really tempted to go CD. I think he can have some elite level volume this year and finally put him over the top. But I am going to go with DeAndre Swift here, a little bit above ADP. I feel really good about that top 2 running back core here. And I think that there's plenty of opportunity later on the draft board to address upside at the wide receiver position. So despite the fact that, again, CD is kind of the other name I had factored in at that second round pick, I'm actually surprised one of those 2 players was not on the board, but I don't mind taking Swift 2 spots above ADP at all. I think he's got top 5 RB upside with that skill set. But back to Joe Mixon, my thing here is when you're the RB3 in points per game last year in half PPR, and a guy who is seeing the workhorse level numbers in the rushing department that you're getting out of him, top 5 in red zone touches, that goes back to the overall offensive upside and ceiling of that football team. And just the skill set is phenomenal. This offensive line also got better in Cincinnati. Again, it is an offense you want to tie yourself to in fantasy football because good things come in the scoring column from that Bengals offense. So on the other side of things here, DeAndre Swift, hopefully that Lions team can become a bit more competitive this year. Even if that's not the case, he has the skill set to be an optimal fantasy player, especially as my RB2 on this team. I think that he's going to do completely just ridiculous things if he continues to get the work and opportunity that he can do in the pass catching game. This is a guy who's career high in rush yards. He's only played 13 seasons in each of his 2 NFL careers, so 13 games per season. He's a guy who has not rushed for more than, I believe it's 617 yards in an individual year. So even if he's a guy like an Alvin Kamara for the Saints, who's actually never had a 1,000-yard rushing season in his NFL career, it's that value and that efficiency, that explosiveness that he gives you as a pass catcher, especially in these half PPR and full PPR formats, that can really start to bring you over the top. I apologize. I did say I was going to put the draft board up for you guys. There you go. You can pop that up and take a look there while we break down and analyze these picks. We're not up on the clock for quite some time here, so I don't have any issue leaving that up on the screen for you guys for a little bit there. Mike Evans goes at the 2.8. I think that's phenomenal value for a guy who easily has top 10 upside at the wide receiver position, with that Tampa Bay offense being number 1 in passing attempts last year. Tom Brady was number 1 in passing yardage amongst quarterbacks, and Tom Brady was also number 1 in red zone passing attempts a season ago. So lots of upside, lots of intrigue, and reason to be excited about him this season. Where were we at, though, with DeAndre Swift? It's the skill set for me again. We're talking about a guy who we started today's video talking about Christian McCaffrey's 29.3 fantasy points per game in the 2019 season when he finished as the RB1. And that situation was probably worse offensively in terms of their ability to produce a quality output of points on a weekly basis than I would argue the Lions are set up for this year, with probably more stable quarterback play and Jared Goff, who is definitely more of an average level player, but not someone who, when you talk about having Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson in a very sturdy offensive line, perhaps one of the most underrated and we don't talk enough about the upside that line provides for DeAndre Swift. If they had more positive game scripts, I think Swift could contribute a lot more as a rusher. But even so, there's a lot to like here. I think the situation is very stable, and I think the Lions are headed in the right direction. So A.J. Brown with the 3-1, not a big fan of that pick there. We do have a lot of upside with this team here at the 1.1 overall draft position. Saquon is someone who I do like at the 212 there. I think that he's severely underrated this season. This is still one of the most talented running backs in the NFL, and a guy who I think can easily exceed his draft position. Now, they did draft him, Busty Tutties that is, did draft Saquon a bit higher than his ADP, which is, the early to mid third round, but I am totally comfortable with that. And again, they don't have anyone else on the roster competing with him for touches in that backfield. Matt Breida is not a person who you expect to be taking touches away from Saquon Barkley. Again, guys, I just want to remind you, if you need a draft guide for this season, sizzlefantasy.com has you guys covered. And when you sign up for Underdog, you can actually join a league with me right now. It's in the description of today's video. The invite link to that, I'll put it right up at the top, and I'll leave a link in the description or in the pinned comment section as well. Join that league with me. It's going to be a $3 entry fee for 12 people. It's going to be a slow draft, so you don't have to worry about missing stuff. And we'll start that as soon as that league is filled. But again, code SFS gets you double your money on Underdog Fantasy. And again, you can play as many leagues with me as you want this year, as many leagues as we can fill. I'm going to be playing with you guys in this season, so a great opportunity, and I would love to interact with you guys. I'm in the middle of a league right now with some guys in the Discord server. That link is in the description as well. Super fun just chatting it up with those guys and making our picks every day. Actually, in a video the other day, I was taking a look at my phone while I was making an episode, and they just kept distracting me because they were saying such funny stuff and having great fantasy discussions. So we're like, is on deck. We are on deck, as a matter of fact. And please, Foxy Styles 7-1. Yes, we're getting Kyle Pitts here. I love the upside. And we're going to be able to turn right around and take a receiver. So you're telling me at the, 311, I get Kyle Pitts, who is a must-draft player for me in the third round of this year's draft. When you sign up for promo code SFS on Underdog Fantasy and get those draft guides free, you're going to get my must-own players lists for rounds 1 through 20 in your season-long leagues this year. Kyle Pitts is absolutely on the third round list for me. A guy who gives you a lot of value. You know, Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce are nice to get at their ADP, but I'm in love with Pitts and his upside there. I think I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson with this pick to get some stability at the wide receiver position. I'm starting to like his outlook more and more, and having him as my wide receiver 1 seems very attractive with how I've started to build this team so far. Jerry Jeudy absolutely probably has higher upside with Russell Wilson, but his floor is also quite a bit lower. Now, this is best ball. We are looking for upside. We are looking for guys who have the potential to smash on their ceilings. But the more I dive into the situation, the more I analyze things here, the more I think Deontay Johnson has a chance to be a massive value at his ADP. I think that we're overlooking him too much. Think about Ben Roethlisberger. Think about that noodle arm, Tommy John elbow that was just a disaster for the poor guy. I mean, Big Ben, we loved you, man. You're a legend. It was sad to see you go. He put up an absolutely legendary performance in his last regular season game, but then absolutely got squished like a bug, and hopefully our last memory of him was not the playoff game against Kansas City. But at the end of the day, his arm was shot after that Tommy John injury, and his effectiveness passing the ball downfield to those very talented wide receivers, I would add, was quite poor. So I'm going to say that there's a chance that between Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, you actually could see improvements at the quarterback position. The one key here is going to be maintaining the volume Big Ben sent his way. Now, if there can be some sort of a trade-off and a balance between volume and efficiency for Deontay, he can maintain his wide receiver 1 status just fine. But we are going to need to see if he's not getting those upwards of 150, 160 target seasons. He's had back-to-back 140 or more target years. I apologize. I'll once again put this draft board up for you guys so you can take a peek at that. And I'm actually going to scroll up a little bit so that I'm not blocking as many picks because I'm pretty sure I'm smack dab in the middle of your guys' screen. So I apologize for that, but that's just kind of the structure of how underdog drafts work here in terms of things on my end. But I love the pick. He's trending up on my board. Another must-own player in my season-long leagues, dropping little tidbits here and there for those of you who are listening to today's episode. And when we get into these drafts here, you can make decisions really tough on me if we're jumping in leagues together on Underdog and you're stealing all the guys I like, because then we're gonna have what happened last season. And I had some pretty dang tough leagues last year where I was drafting with the community and you guys were taking everyone off the board that I wanted. And when it came to my pick, I was really torn because it was like all my must-fade players. And, as such, my team, we were struggling trying to make a lot of trades in some of those leagues because you guys scooped up all the talent I liked. So we're still a good, 6+ picks away, 7 picks from us on the board. Once we get to about 3 or 4 here, we'll dive back into the available players. If you guys are seeing this weird hand wrap that I've got on today, It is not me just doing something totally weird. It was very windy at my house today. And on our deck, we had this large vase that was holding like an outdoor electric candle, so it wasn't a real candle. This is really weird for me to be giving you guys this level of detail and information. But basically, the wind knocked the jar, vase, whatever you want to call it, off of our patio table, and it shattered everywhere. And while I was picking up the glass fragments, I made a large cut on my hand. So that is my explanation for you of why, if you've ever watched the WWE, why I have this like Triple H style weird hand wrap on, because we also had no Band-Aids. So that was the other part of it. Or at least no Band-Aids that covered the amount of hand that I needed to cover. So very weird stuff. I apologize for those of you who are wondering what is wrong with this very weird fantasy football YouTuber. I just know that if I put it into the universe, I'm going to do it. I want Rashad Bateman here in the 5th round. It's so late in the 5th, though, that I don't know if it's going to happen. He's got breakout potential written all over him. I would not mind taking Darnell Mooney if he falls to me. I'll get one of the two, it looks like. Jalen Hurts is there. I can probably wait till my second pick to grab him. We're looking for our wide receiver 2 and 3 right now. That's really what's going on at this point in time. I do really want to address receiver here twice. I would prefer not to go Jalen Hurts. If I could get myself, let's go. We're getting our first share of Rashad Bateman in best ball this season. Now, if we could cap it off with either Juju or Darnell Mooney, I would feel so freaking good about my start to the draft. This has a chance to be my favorite start to a video yet this season. And it all kind of started with me playing and testing my luck here in the late 1st and 2nd, reaching a little bit on Joe Mixon, reaching a little bit on DeAndre Swift. But you only got to start 2 running backs in this league. So I'll get some depth and scoop those positions up later. Getting a value on a guy like Ken Walker. I hate that they put Ken. It's Kenneth. It's like Kelly Stafford's little joke where she was wearing the jacket that said it's Matthew, not Matt. It's Kenneth, not Ken. I hope you guys understood what I was talking about there. Maybe I'll edit a little picture onto the screen. But come on, man. Mooney. All right, so it looks like everyone's reaching up to get themselves their running backs right now, which is, again, totally fine by me. I need to address receiver. I need some upside there. And we are also talking about a situation where, you start 2 running backs. Again, I will add depth and some level of an insurance policy there. But I'm going to go out here and I'm going to draft Darnell Mooney. I do not have as many shares of him in best ball as I would like, and he is going to be absolutely peppered in targets this season. He is easily one of the most underrated route runners and separation creators at the wide receiver position, and he does not get enough respect for it. He completely fries dudes downfield, and I remember this time we're giving you guys the draft board so you have something to peek at. If you're enjoying today's video, it would mean a lot to me if you drop down, leave a like, comment. If you have any questions, you guys, I forget to say this all the time, but I really try to be as interactive as possible. I want to help you guys out and be a resource. If you guys are going to support me by subscribing, joining Underdog, watching my content, as simple as that is, and liking the videos, I want to provide value to you guys in return, on top of obviously anything that you pull out of the videos. So please ask questions. Please use me as a resource. I want to help you guys. So literally anything, drop it down there. And I'm more than happy to get back to you because, again, if I were in a position where I was wanting help in my league, or putting my money on the table for a fantasy football draft, and I had questions, it doesn't matter how much of an expert you are, drop it down there. Even a second opinion or a differing perspective can be all it takes to have a light bulb epiphany moment. And by no means am I the wise know-all fantasy player. I put a lot of time into research and that type of stuff, and doing my due diligence about players, their situations, analytics, all that great stuff. But by no means do I claim to be right about everything. I always love to hear your guys' thoughts as well if you have a differing stance or view from my own. So again, I'm here as a resource, you guys. Let's check out what happened after we made that Darnell Mooney pick. The moral of the story here is that volume is king. He's going to get a whole lot of targets in that offense, and I think that he's going to smash on the 6th round ADP if he's able to see some progressions in the right direction from Justin Fields, his quarterback, and if he's able to just get some more quality opportunities. You could see their chemistry last year. Fields clearly wanted Mooney to have the ball in his hands and to give him opportunities. Again, they just weren't able to be nearly as efficient as it would have taken for Darnell to be in that higher level and echelon of wide receiver twos. So I think he's got a whole lot of ceiling that he brings to the table this season, and I can't wait to see how that progresses here in 2022. The following picks, I'm not a big fan of Antonio Gibson here in the 6th round. It is technically a value because his ADP has dropped, but it's dropped for a reason. It's because his situation is a lot less attractive, and you could easily see the Washington Commanders offense falling off the rails and thus just totally destroying their run game and game script ability to have any positivity factored in there. And if that's the case, I don't like him because it's plain and simple. J.D. McKissic nearly had a 15% target share in that offense last season, and a 3rd-round draft pick investment in Brian Robinson Jr., who is a bruiser and is going to come in and take some of that short yardage work. That is such a big deal because when you're not on the field, you're not making plays. And Gibson has just the perfect fantasy skill set. I just feel like he's never gotten the opportunity outside of his rookie season when he had to break out. We haven't really gotten to see him have a fair shot to capitalize on that opportunity and everything that comes along with that. So I'm just worried about him overall, especially in PPR formats. That's something that obviously comes to mind there. Juju and Drake London are guys I do like at the wide receiver position. Joe Burrow's got a lot of upside. CEH, that ADP is creeping a little high for me. I'd prefer him in the 7th or 8th round where his ADP typically suggests, but it's been a few days since we drafted here, so maybe he's actually seen a bit of a spike in his ADP. And Jerick McKinnon actually just returned to Kansas City, which is kind of a mild turnoff for CEH because of how many targets it originally looked like were going to be opened up there. So his presence is definitely noted, and that might change my analysis of him slightly here. So his ADP should maybe actually fall down a little bit more as opposed to being reached up here. And then I think that Moore and Thielen are fine picks there in the late 6th. Thielen's a little bit underrated right now. We're talking about a guy who I think gets a bad rap for missing games, but part of that's due to COVID, freak injuries like twisting an ankle the wrong way. He didn't really have terrible injury issues, which again, I think the stigma that gets kind of placed on him, just because he's progressing into his early 30s now. I need to get out of here and make a pick. This might be the spot for me to go out and take Ken Walker. Oof, I thought he went because I saw a jump there. I think I'm going to do that because he definitely gives me the most upside of anyone at the position here. Lazard might be nice to come back on the turnaround, or even, I don't know if I want to reach down that far for Matt Stafford. I could. I'd feel pretty good about it. I'm going to take Kenneth Walker here, though. It's Kenneth, not Ken. Back-to-back picks here, and then we're back on the clock. Again, spitballing here. I'd feel more comfortable with Matt Stafford as my QB1 than I would with Trey Lance. For me, Trey Lance is a dang high upside QB2 that absolutely has the potential to finish in the top 5 to 7 range of fantasy quarterbacks. I'm just not so sure I want to take that gamble right now. I'm loving the way this team's coming together. Not really interested in a TJ Hawkinson. I think at this point the situation warrants him a better NFL player than he is a fantasy player. And Dak is someone that, to be honest, that offense just gives me nightmares at times. I feel that with CD is going to benefit a lot this year. However, I think that with a Gallup coming off an ACL injury, so we are going to go Stafford here. I'm feeling really good. We don't have a single bye week repeat, do we? We do. Week 10, we've got Mixon and Bateman out, and in week 14, Mooney and Pitts. But I think this team is coming together phenomenally well. I'm very happy with how things are looking. Essentially, for me, it's CeeDee Lamb's going to see a boost in volume without Amari Cooper, and with Gallup coming off an injury. You've got a very talented but fairly raw player in Jalen Tolbert coming into the offense, so if he hits right away, that'll be a huge boost to Dak's progression and production this year. But maybe it was a bit dramatic when I said that he gives me nightmares and that offense gives me nightmares. But when I think of the Cowboys, I think of it similar to another guy like Kyler Murray, who we've seen him fade down the stretch the last 2 seasons. I feel like Dak is always a strong starter, but then there seems to be kind of a high point that's hit early in the season, and then we see him start to slowly take half steps down the staircase throughout the rest of the year. And that's not that he's an unstartable player at the end of the season. I mean, the Cowboys were still blowing guys out late in the regular season last year, but it is something that I do think about. And if that run game is going to erode again this year, if that O-line gets banged up and they become less balanced and more one-dimensional, those are all, fairly significant and reasonable red flags that I do have. So I just feel more comfortable in the Matt Stafford situation. He finished as QB5. I'm not expecting him to do that again this year. I think that'd be unrealistic of me to have top 5 QB expectations for a guy who really presents little to no rushing threat to the table, but the weapons are fantastic, and at this point they're elite. Allen Robinson and Cooper Kupp is a lethal number 1 and 2 receiver core. You've got a vertical weapon in Van Jefferson, a run game that should be improving and firing on all cylinders by week 8 or so with Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, and company. And then you've got a tight end in Tyler Higbee. I forget it's not Gerald Everett anymore, but it hasn't been Gerald Everett because he was with the Seahawks last year. What is that guy's name? I gotta find it now. He played some pretty nice snap count. In the snaps and opportunities he was on the field, he looked like a legitimate NFL tight end. He's absolutely not relevant whatsoever. There he is, Kendall Blanton. Not relevant in fantasy whatsoever, unless you're going to stream him in a traditional season-long league. If something were to happen to Tyler Higbee, but I'm just talking about the personnel in LA there. He was someone that came to mind and, again, impressed me in the snaps that he was able to get, especially down the stretch in that Super Bowl run with Higbee a little bit banged up there. So I'm loving this draft. I still think this is probably my favorite start to a league this year. Super, super excited about the way that things are going. We've got to finish off the job here. We're only about halfway done with today's draft. We've got 18 rounds. This will be our 9th and 10th pick right here. But again, I'm loving the start to the product here. We're up in about 3 picks, so I just want to scan the board, see who's available, especially at the running back positions. Penny would be interesting to have because then I could have kind of the stranglehold on the top 2 running backs for Seattle. I am not optimistic right now about Chris Carson's ability to play for that team this year. That plate in his neck is just so scary, and if you guys have seen, go on Twitter and just look around for the diagram of the plate that they put in there, and I just can't even imagine. I want a healthy life for Chris Carson, and fantasy and NFL fandom aside, like, dude, make sure you're healthy and ready to go out there. Like, I don't want to see him end up in a terrible position for the rest of his life because he just doesn't want to let go of football right now. Yeah, that would just be awful. All right, we're up here. They did snatch up Chris Olave. I might just reach up the board here. I'm going to take Christian Watson, get myself some upside. Hang on. Week 14 bye. We do have one receiver with a Week 14 bye, starting on Mooney. We'll be picking plenty more receivers for me to be able to feel comfortable in that. I don't mind a Chase Edmonds here, but since I do have the investment in Ken Walker, I think that I'm going to draft Penny as well, which seems frowned upon, but I'm not even so much thinking about it as a handcuff so much as that I'm thinking of it as a opportunity where, and I actually might not go there. We'll see here. I mean, Knox is cool, but I've already got my tight end 1. Don't really want to be starting more than 1 on a weekly basis. I see infrequent upside. I see the upside, but infrequently with these 2 receivers here. Zach Ertz, again, I think I'm going to go Penny here. I would say that it is more likely that Rashad Penny has phenomenal days as the lead back early in the season. And between his inconsistencies with injuries and his unavailability, there will be plenty of opportunities for both Penny and both Walker to have very nice fantasy scoring outings. And I think that there's a realistic situation where both players, maybe it's Penny if he's able to be healthy week 1, starts out as the team's quote-unquote workhorse. Now, they're going to get their second-round pick involved, but if he goes down, Ken Walker then turns into a 3-down workhorse back, and vice versa. I mean, if he goes nuts and then takes that job over, then sure, we can just push Penny to the wayside here, but then I've got Ken Walker as a workhorse, and then maybe, I'm just laying out situations here, but if Ken Walker takes over as the 3-down back, and then he turns an ankle and misses a few games, boom, we're back to Penny. These are two high-level talents, and they're not elite, but they're really nice players that, again, I think are both set up and primed for success on that team, and that's something I want to be a part of in that unique situation. I'm not a big proponent of handcuffs, not something that is overly worth your time, especially in best ball. But again, I think that that's a fine line where I'm comfortable with. In Seattle, a little fun fact here: Adam Schefter, the Patriots have signed former Saints wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey. My buddy is a Saints fan, so I'm sure he's sad to see Lil Jordan parting ways with the team. Kind of break down the board here, analyze things. So after we took Christian Watson at the, and actually I love this run of picks here. Robert Woods' upside I think is capped at a point. Love to see James Cook here in the 9th round. Kadarius Toney, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave. All picks I think very highly of there. Again, that last pick kind of came down between Penny, Edmonds, and then Stevenson was kind of my third choice there. I've drafted a few shares of Chase Edmonds. I think he's going to have a valuable receiving back role in that Dolphins offense. Ramondre is in about as crowded as a backfield, or as crowded of a backfield as they come. However, his skill set is unique. He can catch passes. He's not super explosive, but he is kind of a pinball and can just kind of blow guys over. So I think he fits the physical nature and identity of that Pats offense quite well. I'm not a crazy Damian Harris fan. He was a guy that saw a lot of red zone work last year, but where's his ADP at? Where did he end up being drafted? The 8-3, better value than I would have expected, actually, but the upside for Ken Walker, I think, is far better. Gronk, it still blows my mind that Gronk goes in it is the late 10th round, but still, it does blow my mind that he goes in the 10th round because you're talking about a player who, let's face it, he's literally not on a team. It does say Tampa Bay there, but he is not committed to returning to football. And with Gronk, you truly don't know if he will. Maybe he doesn't want to come to camp or be on the hook for all that stuff. Maybe it's a financial issue in terms of just having the right number to make it worth his time. I don't really know what the situation is, but he said he can't commit to football right now, so I'm surprised people are still drafting him that high. I mean, it will feel fair if he comes back, but you're going to probably be a bit disappointed if you're missing out on some of these other players in the 11th round plus. You're going to miss out on one of them, especially in best ball if you're drafting a guy like Gronk and then he never ends up suiting up or playing a game in the 2022 season. I want to see Gronk. I'm a huge Gronk fan. I think it's better for the game if he's out there, but we'll see. Again, you guys, if you're enjoying today's video, make sure to drop down, leave today's episode with a like, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, promo code SFS gets you the draft guides free on sizzlefantasy.com. Again, when you use code SFS on Underdog Fantasy, you can join in a league with me, just like this one here in the description of today's episode. 12 teams, half PPR, slow draft. So again, I know you guys are busy. I know you guys have other things and commitments to do with your time. So we'll be respectful of that. That's why we put the clock on a slow draft here. But again, go check that out. $3 entry fee. You can use the code SFS, get yourself hooked up with a draft guide for this year, and you can use your balance, which will be doubled by Underdog when you sign up with my code. Again, SFS. You can use that balance to play in leagues with me or your friends this year. Feel free to share the code, get your buddies hooked up with the draft guide, and play leagues with your buddies on Underdog, all for, again, just $10, code SFS. Excuse me. All right, we're on the deck here. Naheem Hines is someone really interesting to take in this format. Rachaad White is kind of intriguing to me as well. Oops. Get off there. There we go. Week 14. Okay, so I'm actually not going to draft Rachaad White because I do have two running backs at that particular bye week. So we're going to go Nyheim Hines here in week 14. Great standalone value as a pass catcher for Frank Reich, who, by the way, issued a warning. He said, if I were you, I would draft Nyheim Hines in fantasy this year. So those of you playing PPR, go get some Nyheim Hines. I actually just made sure I went and locked up and cuffed Jonathan Taylor in a Dynasty league of mine, which was something that, gave me nervous breakdowns during the fantasy playoffs last year when JT was kind of fading down the stretch, and that's kind of where that weak RB1 finish comes from. But Nyheim Hines is someone who I needed to get my hands on, because he's a handcuff with unique standalone value. Again, pass catching mania, baby. That efficiency is so valuable to running backs, and imagine if he sees an increased workload. Marlon Mack's not there anymore. There's really no other traditional RB behind JT to take those carries from a run-centric offense, a team that wants to be at least incredibly balanced at bare minimum. Let's go Van Jefferson here and get that pairing with Stafford. A little bit ahead of ADP there, but you're talking about a guy in Rondale Moore. I just don't believe in him. Tim Patrick's really nice, actually. Jarvis could be decent. Devontae Parker and Jacoby Myers could be decent, but I still like Van Jefferson there a lot. Wouldn't be able to get him on the turn here. What are we talking about? Yes, Nyheim Hines. So they did bring in Phillip Lindsay in Indianapolis, but Phillip Lindsay's days of being a 1,000-yard rusher or having any hope of being a lead back in the NFL are gone, and it's sad. He was a great story. He's a fun player for a time, but you can pick him up in the 18th round, 17th round of these drafts if you want to, if that's really where you want to spend your time and your picks. But let's talk. Let's see. We just drafted Van Jefferson. The thought process here is we've got Matt Stafford. Don't want to overlook that QB wide receiver stack. I think that that's an incredibly valuable thing to do here, especially with a big-time playmaker in a best ball league. If you can get your quarterback, again, finish as a top 5 fantasy QB at the 8.2, which you could have probably got him closer even to the 9th round. It's just I wasn't willing to pass on him. You're talking about a one-play threat to go deep and score a mass amount of points in any given week, who will probably be playing the wide receiver 3 role in this offense. OBJ could come back, but even so, when he was out there last year with Van was still making big plays. I don't really think OBJ is going to play much football this year, though. I just think about how long it took him to recover from the Browns ACL injury, and tearing that same knee up twice gives me a lot of concern and an uneasiness here. Not a big fan of drafting. It's interesting. It's interesting to me that I got Nyheim Hines after Alex Madison. I just feel like, I've been seeing a lot of talk in the community about don't cuff Dalvin Cook. The investment price for Madison is too high. I think Spiller probably went too high in this draft as well. The thought is that if Austin Eckler gets hurt, he'll become very valuable, but that's just not how I like to play my cards here in best ball. I would rather just focus on guys who have standalone value, and those guys with standalone value, if something happens to their starter, become all the more valuable for the exact same reasons, but you can actually depend on weekly point production regardless. So, again, we did find that unique situation with Ken Walker, and our man, where did he go here? Can't find him. Rashad Penny at the 10-2. I'm scrolling too fast. Got a receiver run going off the board here, but big play Van Jefferson, a vertical option for Stafford, who has a rocket arm. I just think pairs really well for best ball, and I found it too attractive to pass on here in this round at least. We are seeing Deshaun Watson's ADP slip, I believe, as we have more concerns arising surrounding him. See, Darrell Williams is kind of another guy who I'm at least interested in. Tyron Davis-Price, very interested in him as well. Let's just take a peek at the overall big board here. See, I kind of want to stay away from Watson for the simple fact that I think it's highly likely that he gets some discipline thrown his way. 14 for Pitts. Could go after Pierce, but we've got a few week 14 buys already. Darrell Williams or Tyron Davis-Price is the question here. And I think we can call it good at that position. I think I'm going to go Tyron Davis-Price and just go for upside. I think that if something happens to Elijah Mitchell, which is very possible with how much that football team wants to run their players into the dirt, I might actually reach down the board here and take Daniel Jones. I could wait. I'm going to peek at this before we do any analysis, just because I want to assess the situation. Week 9 bye would pair up with Deontay. We do already have a share of the Pittsburgh pass-catching core. It might get a little difficult with having 2 sets of players gone in a given week. But I don't have a share yet of... I can't pick Alec Pierce. I don't have a share of George Pickens yet. That was nice standalone value there with J.D. McKissick. I might go for Danny Dimes. I think that's where I might end up going here. I could wait and in the last round take a flyer on Kenny Pickett. That would be interesting. I'm going to go with the upside here. I think George Pickens is a beast of a prospect and a player athletically. When I thought through it that way, I can load myself up on Steelers and have really, that's fine for week 9. It is what it is. Stafford's supposed to be the guy regardless. I would be shocked if by week 7 Pickett is not playing. That'll be our plan for now. It's a fluid plan, so I'm very open to changing it. I mean, there's still a shot that I think Kenny Pickett starts week 1. But the point being here is that if he goes off and has a massive game with Deontay Johnson, you could potentially stack those games up. Or, same thing with George Pickens here, if he delivers an absolutely ridiculous game to those 2 players, it gives you a nice level of stability. And then I didn't have to waste such a high pick. When we were a little bit thinner at receiver, we kind of faded the position a little bit. I feel really great about these top 4, 5. I love the group today. I don't know. I think that this is a phenomenal draft. Again, it's up there. It might just be my favorite so far. We've got 4 picks left to make here, but with Van and George Pickens being my wide receivers 5 and 6 on this team, I feel really good about the top 4. Christian Watson could have a 25% target share from Aaron Rodgers. If he gets on the field and hits, I think Bateman and Mooney will have high levels of usage in their offense. It's just going to be about hitting on that production opportunity they're given. And then Deontay Johnson being the top guy in that core, I feel very good about that. Again, I talked about it earlier. He's been growing on me, and I'm beginning to feel more and more comfortable there. A lot of positivity, a lot of reasons to be a happy camper here with this team today. Let's just check out some of the other earlier round picks for teams. This is an interesting start here. Travis Etienne all the way up at the 312. I mean, that's his guy. Go for it. He is the RB1 for that group. Elijah Mitchell and A.J. Dillon as the 2 and 3. Not crazy about that team. There's some stuff to like there, though. We're okay here as well. I prefer my running back core. If DJ and Devontae hit, if Deshaun plays, this could be a pretty nasty team, actually, with Jalen Hurts at QB. Very solid backup stack with Adams and Carr. I like to see that. Really nice work here getting 3 high upside receivers. I prefer Judy to Sutton. And actually, he did have that choice, but that's very interesting. Connor can be your RB1. He's going to be a workhorse. Not a fan of the running back picks there, though. TB12, though, I mean, you've got some versatility with that group there. Derek and Zeke, I mean, that could be a pretty high floor team right there. Andrews, if he hits on those high upside receivers, that could be a pretty filthy lineup. This team's got a lot of RB upside as well. Love the Williams and Herbert stack. This is a team to look for right here. Eckler and Aaron Jones, Mike Dubb, and Justin Herbert in the late, back half of the 4th round is a steal. Gabe Davis, Juju, Michael Thomas, Tony Pollard, Kadarius Toney. Man, does Stansbury 9 have the SFS draft guide? He's got a whole lot of my must-own players. Now, down here, down the stretch, Rondale Moore and James Robinson, not so much of a fan there, but he's got a hefty amount of must-own players on the SFS draft guide there. He must have used promo code SFS when he signed up for Underdog to play in today's draft, because, again, I freaking love that team. These teams at the front here are nice as well. Jefferson, Javonte, Pittman, A-Rob, J.K. I have my mixed feelings about J.K. Dobbins. Higgins, Fournette, Kupp, Waller. We'll see with Metcalf. That could be nice there. And then these first two teams, mixed feelings there as well. But there are pieces on all those teams that I do like. Excuse me, I'm going to have to close this out here because it is time for our next pick. Our boy Alec Pierce is still chilling on the board. Chilling like a villain. See here, we're on deck. Robbie Anderson retirement rumors last week were unexpected, but also highly interesting to look into. Let's peek at. I wouldn't mind having Hayden Hurst here as our reserve tight end. That's something we should address here soon. Corey Davis has upside in that offense as well. KJ Hamler, someone with some sneaky upside, but probably the F receiver for that team. Again, not really interested. I love Alec Pierce, but maybe I could afford to do it now that I've got some other options for that week. It would just be kind of tough. I mean, you're guaranteeing that you're going to have to start. Pierce is my favorite player at this spot on the board, so I'm just going to do it. I think I'll still get Hayden Hurst with the next pick here, and then I can just continue to go ahead with that strategy. So basically here, the thought process, and again, we're hoping to get Pickett with that last selection. The thought process here is that you're going to have Mooney, Watson, and Pierce out, but I think that, the opportunity for Van to have a big game with Stafford could hit any time. Maybe George Pickens steps up to the plate. I think that if I did my math right here, we could also have one more shot at the table. I do want to look at this. Yeah, Hayden Hurst is definitely the guy for the tight end group, and I don't mind waiting here to the 16th round because you're expecting Kyle Pitts, a guy who had 1,000 yards in his rookie season, to be producing at a tight end, top 3 tight end level. Which again, you're hoping you're not going to have to start Hayden Hurst more than that bye week. But I also think that Hayden Hurst has a really attractive ceiling with Joe Burrow, who has had really nice stints with tight ends throughout his career. So we have 2 draft picks left. Let's pop this board back up for you guys. I appreciate the heck out of all you that are still watching. Go check out, again, that drafts, the 2022 Fantasy Football mock draft playlist on Sizzle Fantasy Sports, our YouTube channel here. This should be, I don't know, maybe the 7th, 8th, 9th one that we've done this summer, something like that. And of course, watch those videos, take away what you can from it. If you've got a specific draft position you're looking for this year, again, besides I'm trying to think of where we haven't picked from this year. I don't think I've picked first. I don't think I've picked 12th. I have picked second, maybe not third. I've definitely been like 4th, 5th, and 6th, though. 7th I've picked from. I don't think I've picked from 8th. So maybe this is the 8th draft we've done this year. But again, I want to do more because I have a lot of fun doing these. They're easy for me to edit for you guys. And I think they can be highly informational and get you guys a lot of content just talking about a wide array of players throughout the day. And then obviously you guys can critique my drafting, and brainstorm ideas and spitball stuff for yourselves. Of course, again, please ask questions. If you're wondering why I picked someone over somebody else, fair game. I mean, I'll get back to you and provide an explanation. Maybe every once in a while I'll make a pick where I missed somebody on the board, didn't quite scroll far enough to find a guy I was looking for, but for the most part, there is usually, hopefully, a very thought-out explanation for all of those decisions. So unless I make a blunder here, that's kind of where we're looking at. So again, our strategy here is probably to take one more wide receiver, especially a guy who doesn't have a Week 14 bye week, to really fill in the gap there. Maybe someone who is even a floor play. Devin Duvernay is a really sneaky guy. Laviska Shenault. I would be super happy with either of those 2 players. We got to scroll over here. We're 10 picks away still. I'll put those up and star them for you guys. Duvernay and Shenault, I think, are definitely sleeper level candidates for this season. They're going to have to get the volume. They're going to have to get the playing time with Shenault. He's going to have to probably I think he's a great big slot option, but he's going to have to earn his time over Zay Jones, who they brought in this year for 3 years, $30 million. In theory, the one thing that could really screw him over is if they put Christian Kirk in the slot and then they tell LaVisca that you got to go play outside, where I think Zay Jones and Marvin Jones can be very productive. But if Marvin regresses or something, I just think LaVisca is used best as a big slot player. I think he's still got a lot of upside to do great things in that offense, and I think that they're going to have a ton of negative game scripts. I might just, take the chance on him here. But again, we're going to get probably one of those two for sure, and then Kenny Pickett as our second quarterback. Where's the star button? There it is. Yeah, we're going to get Kenny Pickett as our QB2, again, to pair with Deontay Johnson and George Pickens to hopefully have those stacks, which I think are highly advantageous for fantasy. So, great value on OBJ at the 199, but again, in best ball, I don't really think I just don't see him playing many games. He had a late ACL tear. It took him forever to recover last time. That's being unfair. I mean, he did literally tear the main ligament in his knee, but for me, it's in best ball especially, it's more risk than it's worth. I think with OBJ, I just don't think he'll be ready, at least not quickly. I would rather draft him in season long. If you got an IR in your league, slap him on the IR and just stash him. But I think that's your best route and your best scenario playing out there. So Pickett has the latest ADP of any of these players. Just to be safe, though, I'm very confident that either Duvernay or Chenault will be there. I don't really have time to go look at his team. I could. Let's try it. Let's test our luck here. JVVJ. He's already got 2 QBs. All right, let's test our theory here. He's not picking both of them. I'm gonna take Duvernay just because I haven't tested him out yet this year. 10th week bye, doesn't line up with anyone else. I think that he could be very good in that offense again. Watkins no longer there. Hollywood Brown no longer there. I think it's the Duvernay and Bateman show from here on out. We're going to get that double stack of 2 Ravens players there as well. One of them should hit very, very nicely for this season. And then, so our theory essentially is that that's actually a Y, not a V. JYGG has 2 QBs. He's not drafting Kenny Pickett here and taking that from us. So with our 18th and final pick here, we've got basically the whole 18th round to get through. After our pick, we'll do a quick recap here, go over the draft selections, the picks, and then send you guys on your way to go check out another video or enjoy the rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. So that was our final pick. Our QBs for today. By week 7 and 9, Matt Stafford and Kenny Pickett. We've got the stacks at the wide receiver position for both of those players. Running back, I love the team here today. Joe Mixon and DeAndre Swift, I think, have 2 beautiful fantasy skill sets and beautiful situations, utilities, whatever you want to say. I'm McLovin' it. Ken Walker and Rashad Penny gives me kind of a niche, nudging my way, snacking my foot in the door there. Sneaking, rather, not snacking. Doors do not taste good. Sneaking my foot in the door with Ken Walker and Rashad Penny for 2 potential workhorse players on any given Sunday, depending on who's A, available and healthy to suit up, and B, whoever Pete Carroll decides that he wants to run the football with. Fun fact, the Seahawks, despite being a terrible football game or terrible football team, their games were pretty terrible to watch. Despite being a terrible football team and having very bad game scripts, especially without Russ on the field, we're still 32nd in pass plays per game. So they're running the ball a lot. Those 2 are going to see a handful of touches. Naheem Hines, give me some standalone value there. And then just kind of a dartboard throw with Tyron Davis-Price, but a lot of upside being a 49er running back and a guy they just drafted in the 3rd round. After last year, Trey Sermon looked like a complete afterthought. Deontay Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Darnell Mooney, Christian Watson, and Van Jefferson are the top 5 at the receiver position. I love the upside here. I think there's a lot of ceiling, a lot of potential draft day value if those guys hit. The situations, obviously there are reasons to like these guys. They're not shoo-ins to be fantasy stars, but I think that I feel comfortable of, those top 4 guys, being upside projects and prospects here. I feel very comfortable at least 2 of them will hit at a very high level. Pickens, Pierce, and Duvernay are kind of the later sleeper round picks. I think Alec Pierce has a really nice shot to be the number 2 clear cut in Indianapolis' passing game. I just think that he's a a great size, speed, overall athletic profile player. Duvernay is a sleeper for me this year, a guy who is actually quite nifty in terms of the different ways they can use him in Baltimore. And simply just moving up the depth chart from other departures should be really all it takes to get him some more reps, looks, and volume. And then Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst here as we wrap up the draft with some busty tutties here today. If you want in on the inside joke, comment busty tutties, and I'll make sure to heart you. Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. Pitts could be the tight end one this year. Very, very possible. We got him at the 312, or 311, sorry. Great value nonetheless for me. I will take that 24/7, 365. And then Hayden Hurst, Joe Burrow just seems to find very sneaky ways to utilize his overall his tight ends in the red zone. As a safety blanket, we saw Uzoma have some valuable touches in the playoffs last year, so stuff that I like overall. A lot of upside and prospective players here again today. I think that this is one of the funniest numbers to look at every time you do a draft is your projected count. I feel like it almost goes down for me every video, but it feels like the lower that number is, the more I love my upside. So that's the name of the game. That number is not indicative of how your fantasy season is going to go. If you can find the right breakout players, you're going to have a lot of production and things to like. So if you want to get in on any of these drafts with me this year, again, make sure to drop down in the description of today's video. Join up that Underdog League with me. And once that puppy fills up, we're going to be starting things off and getting you guys hooked up with the free draft guide for this year. So promo code SFS. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Thank you guys for your time and for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.